Peace and power. Our brother George Jackson. What happened to the king? What happened to our brethren, man? Geronimo Pratt. What keeps happening to us time and time again? I mean, what's the game? When we talk about, look, man, moving with wisdom, how do we flow? We have to learn. There has to be a stepping stone. There has to be a purpose to your destruction. You have to know that you're in a frequency war and the hijack is real. I mean, your brother George L. Jackson would tell you that the hijack is real, man. I just wanted to, you know what I'm saying, pay some honor, man, to those that have been a wall of protection, man, that have been, you know what I'm saying, resisting hijack, regardless if they had the orientation, if they got this or they got that. We are only the seeds, we're only the children. If they were destroyed by this system, then the system will also destroy us. If they were, you know, hijacked, you know what I'm saying, left and right, then we too have to be cognizant that the hijack is real. When we see that our fathers were hijacked, our mothers were hijacked. I'm not saying that hijacked just in terms of a brainwashing. I'm saying hijacked in terms of literally intruded, invaded, infiltrated. You're dealing with a system, a matrix of master infiltration, master infiltrators that would spare at no expense, man, to get every bit of drop from anything that they deem strong or powerful or a threat, based on your connection to the Creator, based on us awakening to a frequency, an ancient love song. You don't have to harm nobody. You just got to pick up a book, and that book is a weapon. Hell, George Jackson would tell you, my solar dad brother, history is a weapon. Yeah, man, we're going to get into this brother George L. Jackson, September 23rd, 1941 to August 21st, 1971. Wow. My brother was only 30 years when he died, when he passed. I'm saying my brother was only 30 years old. Look at him, man. Spent his whole life in prison, unjustly, wrongfully accused. Look at him wearing the chains, his shackles. But look at his spirit. Look at that ruah. Who is my brother George Jackson? Who is my brother, who they call one of the most prolific writers, thinkers? He was just against the hijack. I mean, whatever the movement was, this energy was just against all hijacks. Look at him, man. Look at his eyes. He's looking at you like, come on, man. Come on, man. Hijack 101. We're talking, we're just talking about our family. We're talking about our brethren. We're talking about our sisters. All connected. But my brother got that energy, though. And he was only 30 years old, man. In 1960, at the age of 18, George Jackson was accused of stealing $70 from a gas station in Los Angeles. Though there was evidence of his innocence, his court-appointed lawyer maintained that because Jackson had a record, 2 previous instances of petty crime, he should plead guilty in exchange for a light sentence in the county jail. Look how this played out at 18. He gets accused of stealing $70 from a gas station. I don't know how you do that. I guess, you're talking about robbing, but there's evidence to support his innocence. But this court-appointed lawyer told him to plea out. he should plead guilty in exchange for a lighter sentence. So he did, and received an intermediate sentence of 1 year to life. At 18, my brother received a sentence of 18 to life over $70 at a gas station, G. Oh, it's easy to forget. That's why we have to remember. So he received 1 year to life. Jackson spent the next 10 years in Soledad prison, which is why they called him Soledad Brother. Soledad Brother, man. Remember. 30 years old, man. So 18, he gets 1 year to life over the $70 at a gas station. 1 year to life, and ends up spending 10 years in Soledad prison. 7.5 of them in solitary confinement. Over $70 at a gas station. He spent 10 years in jail, 7 of them in solitary. Instead of succumbing to the dehumanization of prison existence, he transformed himself into the leading theoretician of prison movement and a brilliant writer. Soledad Brother, they called him, which contains the letters that he wrote from 1964 to 1970 in his testament. My man passed away at 30 and left all of this writing in that confinement, in that solitary confinement, in that state. He released all of this energy. All of this energy, man. Wow. I mean, I'm blown away. You know, I was just kind of reconning today, and, you know, just kind of came across, man, you know, this brother, you know, this is in relation to this, you know, former informant, this federal agent, you know, COINTELPRO, this brother who's going to mention, you know, how he was innocent, man, and how all this was just a setup, how he knew that they were going to kill him in there, and it wasn't that he was trying to escape prison. It was just that he was trying to escape for his life. He had one last chance to try to keep his life by getting out of there, because San Quentin, I mean, shit, they trying to set you up in a quit fast, right? You look in his eyes, man, you know he had that pure water. He was just trying to express it. So let's see it, man. Let's get some of this. We're going to get to his letter, but, you know, so 7.5 of them was in solitary confinement. So he didn't succumb to the dehumanization of prison existence. He transformed himself, all right? So in the 28th year, in his 28th year, when he was 28, Jackson and 2 other black inmates, Fleta Drumonco and John Cluchet, were falsely accused of murdering a white prison guard. Damn, so now he's in there over $70. Serves 10 years, 7 in solitary. Then they want to keep him in there because of his mind. They want to take it all from my brother. So now he's accused of murdering a white prison guard. The guard was beaten to death January 16, 1969, a few days after another white guard shot and killed 3 black inmates by firing from a tower into the courtyard. So this is prison politics. So somebody got to get back on him because he killed other folks, you know what I'm saying, from a tower. The accused men were brought in chains and shackled to 2 secret hearings in Salinas County. At secret hearings, a third hearing was about to take place when John Cluchet managed to smuggle a note to his mother, "Help, I'm in trouble." And with the aid of a state senator, his mother contacted a lawyer, and so commenced one of the most extensive legal defenses in U.S. history, man. These brothers kicking up dust in their 20s, 30s, teens. I mean, we're just talking about the frequency. So they commence most extensive legal defenses in U.S. history. According to their attorneys, Jackson, Dramongo, and Clichette were charged with murder not because there was any substantial evidence of their guilt, but because they had been previously identified as black militants by the prison authorities. If convicted, they would face a mandatory death penalty under the California Penal Code. Within weeks, the case of the Soledad brothers emerged as a political cause celebre for all sorts of people demanding change at a time when every American institution was shaken by black rebellions in more than 100 cities and the mass movement against the Vietnam War. So all this heavy work was going on, man. You know what I mean? And this led to this, breakout. You know what I mean? This breakout. And this COINTEL agent's going to kind of, break it down a little bit, man. But, I just want to get to a couple of these letters, just kind of get you the framework of how the brother was moving, how he was thinking. And then, you got all this to dig through, man. But it's definitely worth your energy to connect all the way, man. Because this is recent times. This is all recent hijack. Yeah, we can start from here, man. Let's go. So this is his letter in June 1970. So he says, I had a visit yesterday from an old friend, Joan. They told her she couldn't come back again and an economy move. It cost the state too much to supervise my half-hour visit, so I'll be held incommunicado. It seemed they turned my sister away today. Someone is going to have to come up with some guts. These fools must be stopped. Absolute power in the hands of idiots. It makes me think of Rome and England. Do you know where the barbarians and guerrillas are going to come from to destroy Imperial America? From the black colonies and these concentration camps. Damn. I mean, you get it? The three of us are the only convicts in this joint who have to accept half-hour visits with a special guard, handcuffed and chained. Now it seems we won't even get that. My sister, my brother can't visit me in what could be the last days of my life. Well, one good thing comes from this experience. No question remains in the minds of any member of my family as to where their energies would best be spent. My father would have a whole den of panthers there to feed. With each attempt the pigs make on my life in San Quentin, I would send an SOS out to my family. They would always respond by listening and writing letters to the joint pigs and Sacramento rats. And they didn't entirely accept that I was telling them the truth about the pig mentality. I would get dubious stares when I told them the lieutenants and the other guards and the others who propositioned some of the most vicious white convicts in the state, quote, kill Jackson, we'll do you some good. You understood my father wanted to know why, and all I could tell him was that I related to Mayo, and couldn't kowtow, all right, break the code. His mind couldn't deal with it. I would use every device, every historical and current example I could reach to explain to him that there were no good pigs. So he's trying to break the spell of his dad the same way many of you today are trying to break the spell that's over some of your, peoples. You know what I'm saying? He's like, look, man, I'm getting jammed up. I'm trying to explain it to you. He said, man, I used every historical and current example I could reach to explain. Like, that's a lot of us using every historical, every drop you can to reach out to explain the simple truth that what? It is what it is. Hijacks are real. But the task was too big. I was fighting his mind first and his fear of admitting the existence of an undefiable enemy element that was oppressing us. because that would either commit him to attack that enemy or force him to admit his cowardice. So a lot of us would just ignore the fact that you're invaded, because then you have to respond. If you act like no one didn't smack you in the back of the head, then you could just keep going with life. But if it's clear that someone just smacked you in the back of the head, either you turn around and, you know what I mean, get them up, or you keep walking and getting smacked in the back of the head. Either way, you're going to have to make a decision and say, am I okay with living the rest of my life every day getting smacked in the back of the head? Or nigga, you just got to kill my ass. Because you ain't just going to smack me in the back of the head every day. That's not living, is it? Is that being free? Ain't you free not to get smacked in the back of the head every day? Eventually, everybody will come to a breaking point, strong or weak. Even the weakest person would say, you know what, man, enough is enough. You're going to have to just take me out, man. Because I'm not going to get smacked in the head one more damn day. And when you wake people up to the fact that they're being smacked in the back of the head and they're celebrating themselves being smacked in the back of the head with this independence, this and this and this, someone just smacked you in the back of the head and told you to celebrate it. But of course, we know, man, that this was a major uproar. You know what I mean? I was also fighting the establishment's public relations and propaganda machine. The prisons all use the clean, straight face or the old harmless looking pigs to work in areas where they must come in contact with free people. And these pigs are never allowed to use their tusks. Regarding the racism, my father would remind me that there were black pigs too. But of course, that means nothing at all. They simply work around the blacks when necessary. One guard or two working together is all that's needed to murder any con in the joint. But it isn't really necessary to work around the black pigs. They all cooperate or turn their heads. The black cop could be a large factor in preventing our genocide, but no help can be expected from that quarter. The same stupidity and desperation that brought him to the gates prevents him from interceding. The job, the wage, means too much to him. Often he feels compelled to prove himself, prove that he is loyal to the force, prove that he is not prejudiced in favor of us, prove that he is honest. To who? To them, right? His honesty prevents him from dealing in contraband as every white pig does. Look, I was in San Quentin for 7 straight years and I knew everything that was brought in and by whom. The white pig actually considers it his privilege to supplement his income by bringing in and selling narcotics, weapons, and of course, pornography. The black pig is afraid, too unsure of his position to be dishonest. The same fear will cause him to show more zeal in the club therapy sessions that even the whites manage. If the victim is black, he's going to get so mad that the white pigs will have to stand back and let him swing. If they don't have murder planned for that session, they'll have to put that nigger off of you. A pig is a pig. It all falls into place. I see the whole thing much clearer now, how fascism has taken possession of this country, the interlocking dictatorship from country level on up to the Grand Dragon in Washington, D.C. The solidarity between the prison here and the court in Salinas, between the judge and the grand jury, the judge and the DA, and the city officials, the institution has effectively cut me off from any relief. The unmeek have taken over this whole country. The unmeek have taken over this whole country, the state, the entire country. They work together to the same end, effective control. I knew of these links before this, long before this, but seeing it in operation is pretty frightening. What force binds them together? I'm referring to the intermediary, the physical thing, not the idea. What is it that really ties that fat rat with the chain of department stores to a uniformed pig? The fat rat wants the country and world policed, made safe for his business to expand. But how does he sell the idea to the man who must do the policing? Money is the bond, I think. They're in it for the money, these pigs and skinny rats. The fascist idea doesn't really take hold until one gets into upper levels of the power pyramid. Then any idea that preserves becomes attractive. Preserves. They just want to preserve their, illusion of power. People's government would decentralize this power. People's government would decentralize this power that they hold over us. These men must be stopped. Power to the people. Signed, George. I mean, are you getting the frequency? What happened to George Jackson? Same thing that's happening today. Same thing that's happened today. And he said, hey man, it ain't really about the color, right? Let's get these couple short drops he did, man. This is in June, same month. All right, so this is the 13th. Dear Faye, I think this is his attorney. Or it could be, his piece. I don't know. But he says, no one here knows about the scheduled court hearing. They say we're not going. The prison doesn't like moving us. So somehow they have managed to arrange with the judge to leave us out of our own trial. Damn. Our pre-trial. Can they try us in absentia? Is that the term? So they're trying these brothers without them even being there. You don't even got to be here, nigga. We got you. That's what's happening to this brother. That's what happened to this brother. Some bull pig, just said that the judge under no circumstance wants us in his court. In that case, they shouldn't mind dropping the whole thing or sending us to another county for trial. Berkeley, perhaps. But as you said, more than likely, it'll be Orange County. Why do we accept this sort of thing? We have numerical superiority. So he's not speaking about the case. He's like, man, why on this land are we taking this shit if we have more numbers? We have numerical superiority, but they have guns and shit. That's pretty much what he's saying. But they have guns and money. And then the righteous don't like to cut throats, so we languish in misery. When you finally get me out of this mess, you'll have to send me away somewhere for a while. Somewhere like Cuba or China or Tanzania. So that I can reorient myself, man. I need to get orientation. My understanding has been strained to the utmost. And this Tanzania is important because where did my man Geronimo Pratt pass away? Former Black Panther leader Geronimo Ji-Jaga Pratt, wrongfully imprisoned for 27 years, dies in Tanzania. (1972). 1970. You have to send me away for a while, somewhere like Cuba, China, or Tanzania. Any connection? 2 years different, so I can reorient myself. Man. So, you know what I'm saying? You got this drop, man, and I just want to get it from the hijacks, perspective. We're about to watch this informant. He's going to drop some drop. And we've seen some of this before. This is the real spill. He's going to mention George Jackson. So I wanted us to have a framework. He's going to mention Geronimo Pratt. So we end up getting back into that. And just, surf the wave and know that nothing's changed. Just more money, more infiltration. You know what I'm saying? This is what they do, is infiltrate. So when we deal with surfing the wave and as we build, no one's being paranoid. We're being, we're using wisdom, knowing we're in social media. Anyone can hit us up saying, well, brother, we're surfing the wave. What's the coordinates to your land? You know what I'm saying? So, with wisdom, in truth, and dealing with facts, a historical fact, using history as a weapon, we got to get the drop, man. So let's go and get it, man. Love to John Gardner, who dropped this. COINTELPRO, Black Desk. Oh, you don't know about the Black Desk? Oh, let's go. Let's get it.
Like It Is. In an earlier program that we ran as a special three-part series entitled A Decade of Struggle, we included an interview with a man who worked as an informer for the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We didn't show all of that interview, however, because of time limitations. We do feel, nonetheless, that we should air as much as possible of that interview because of the gravity of the information it contains. This edition of Like It Is will be devoted solely to that end. The name of the informant that we interviewed is Dothart Perry, also known as Ed Riggs, also known as Bill Perry, also known as Othello. He worked for the FBI as an informer who infiltrated various black organizations during the 1960s. Ours is the only full-face, on-camera interview that he has conducted thus far. Now, we interviewed him on two separate occasions. So, for purposes of continuity, we've edited this piece, going from one interview to another according to subject areas. We began with his account of how he was recruited by the FBI.
I was a student at Sacramento City College and Sacramento State College. I was stopped in the parking lot one day by a special agent by the name of Pratt. He told me a little bit about that he knew that I worked in military intelligence and how would I like to work for him. And also that I knew certain people in the so-called black radical fringe that they would be very interested in finding different information out about. I told him that my term for military intelligence had been very short-lived, that I was not interested in them and I wasn't interested in him either.
By now, this must have been 1968-ish.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The following month, I was going to school on a federal grant and also a VA loan check. My check didn't come down, either one. I had bought a oscilloscope for a television communications class that I was taking from a person that I didn't even know. He just had the oscilloscope for sale, and it was very cheap, so I bought it. Since my checks hadn't came down, being a student, and I was taking like close to, I think, about 23 units, something like that. It was a very heavy course load.
Okay. This is Hijack 101. He asked him a simple-ass question. Nigga, how did you start infiltrating motherfuckers? I mean, how did you turn into this nigga? I mean, how did they get you to turn, man, on your own damn people? How did you become, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So, he's telling you about fucking courses and college credits. I didn't get into that class, but I did get in this class. I bought some things. Now, you know what it comes down to, man. Money. Money. Money.
I couldn't work and go to school at the same time. So I decided I would take the oscilloscope down to the pawn shop, pawn it, and use that money until my checks came. I went down, I pawned the oscilloscope. As I came out, I got busted. Possession of stolen property. Seems that someone had broken into Sacramento City College and had stolen the oscilloscope along with quite a few other things.
So what happened?
Well, I was taken to court due to a friend of mine, an attorney in Sacramento that I had been working for. He intervened for me, and it was broken down to misdemeanor possession of stolen property, which I was given 3 years summary probation for. Let me clarify this. Summary probation means that all you have to do is you write a letter into the probation officer every month, and you say, well, I've been a good boy this month. Bye, you know. I got an offer for a scholarship at Los Angeles City College, which I took advantage of, and I started going to Los Angeles City College, and UCLA in Los Angeles. Coming out of LACC from the school one day, I was met again by the same special agent who said that he wanted to talk to me, and the offer was still good about me working for him. Again, I told him no, I was not interested. Then told me that I should be interested because they could help me with a problem that I had. And I told him I didn't have any problems that I knew of. He said, oh yes, you remember the possession of stolen? I said, yeah, well that's summary probation, man. I just write a letter in every month. He said, oh no, that's not summary probation. It turned out it's a felony probation for 3 years, which means you have to report in every week.
To bring it down to a nutshell, what happened?
What happened was that as far as they were concerned, it was felony probation now, and if when you jump probation, that means they can put you in for the rest of the term of the probation, which came through about 2 years and 10 months.
And so they threatened you with that?
Yes, they did.
Why didn't you stand up to that?
I called the probation office in Sacramento first. They told me a warrant was out for my arrest and that I was going to jail.
Did you have any particular fear of jail?
Yes.
So you see, you're trying to get to the root, to the meat of this. You're like, look, man, just give me the skinny, no fat. Give me the skinny, man. What happened, man? Are you saying you was scared to go to jail for 2 years and therefore you turned on your people?
I don't like to be shut in. I have a very, very dark fear of being shut up anywhere.
How would they have known this?
The only way they could have known that is from my psychological profile when I went into military intelligence, which they take on all people that work in military intelligence.
So you bent and you decided to go to work for them?
Yes.
How would you say that most of those who are doing the same thing that you did have gotten into that behavior? The same way you did, they were coerced?
Coerced, pressure. Some can take it for, I think some might do it for the pay, for the feeling of power. It's a natural syndrome for a powerless person given a pedestal where he can direct, or he can say, well, this man goes to jail or this man stays free. They get a feeling of security from it.
For the FBI, did you get an indoctrination or did you just start cold?
No, I got an indoctrination. It started off with camera surveillance, camera surveillance, electronic techniques of surveillance, shadowing, the obtaining of let's say letters, empty envelopes, instructions on how to go to somebody's garbage containers and pick out useful items. You'd be surprised at the things that they take out of a garbage can, by the way. I mean, anywhere from the leftover food from breakfast, just to know what this guy eats for breakfast, you know. When they become interested in a person or a group of people, they try to find out as much as they possibly can, psychologically and academically and social-wise. Who do they run with? Do they go to certain nightclubs? Does this one have a sex hang-up? Is the man impudent? You know, anything that can be used later on.
How long was this indoctrination process?
It lasts anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks.
What is the most sophisticated equipment that you use as far as eavesdropping is concerned?
The video setup, and also I work with the new, I think it's called parabolic reflectors for sound pickup. A very interesting piece of equipment.
How is that used?
Okay, it reminds you of a disc. Have you ever seen those radioscopes?
Yeah.
You know how they're a disc and then there is a
Cone behind it. Like
cone in the center, right?
Yeah.
Okay, these parabolic reflectors were just like that, except a smaller version, and you would point it in the direction of where you wanted to pick up the sound from.
And how far away can it pick up sound?
Oh, I think it was anywhere from the ones I used from 200 to 500 yards.
What?
Oh yeah,
Distinct?
distinct, very distinct. You could be in a building, like say we're here right now.
A football field is 100 yards, correct? He's at 500 yards, man. 500 yards away from that little shit he was using then. And we're talking the 70s and 60s and shit.
Okay, not the next building, but the building behind. Let's say it's a little bit taller. Okay, I could point that parabolic reflector from there to this window, and I could pick up. That's how good it was.
Through the window?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The window didn't have to be open. The window didn't have to be open at all.
How does one go about tailing a person? Describe that. Is there a particular art? You say you have to be taught that.
Well, there is a particular art to it, but, yeah, okay, let me state, number one, the easiest way is to get close to the person so you can run with him. That's the best way. Okay, the second best way is the thing I've called trial and error observation, where you would go around and you would follow this guy, let's say, from a distance of anywhere from a half block to a block, as long as you can keep him in sight. And then you find out certain locales or certain places that this man goes to every day. Now, if you can get a set pattern of places that this man goes to every day, you got him down. You got him down. That's what they needed to know.
So after a couple of weeks, you were ready to go to work?
I wasn't ready, but I went to work, yeah.
Do you know if this indoctrination period is more sophisticated today?
Probably much more so sophisticated for the simple reason that they're probably more severe on them as far as rating is concerned. Simply because of all the disclosures that are being made against them. I think they're being very, very careful. And when they sink their hooks in, I think they're making sure that it is tight, airtight.
In your experience, did you ever see the FBI try to sway newspaper or media news?
Oh, hey, let me run this down to you. LA Times, man. I went over there and picked up press passes from certain people over there. Let me see, some people that work for NBC.
TV?
Yes, in Los Angeles. Used to get press passes to the Bureau and stuff. Fact is, we used to get some camera equipment from there.
So a lot of this news film was probably turned over to the FBI.
Oh, sure.
Was definitely turned over.
Oh, hey, they had a lot of reporters, and well, it was that old game of one hand washes the other. Usually an agent would prefer to meet the reporter on a one-on-one basis, you understand what I mean? Build a rapport with him, go out to the Press Club, buy him a few drinks, take him out to Hollywood Park, for the races, that kind of thing. Say, hey, Jim, your paper's covering such and such, or your TV station's covering such and such. And, yeah, I just like a little bit more information than I've been getting. I need it, It would kind of help me, you know what I mean? A personal favor. And if you do something for me, maybe I can do something for you, in the future. Like, when we're about to break a case, you'll be the first to know. That kind of thing.
What kind of work did you end up doing as an undercover agent? Were you doing espionage work or informant work?
Informant work, and also what you would call illegal entries, selling of weapons, selling of explosives, arson.
You would sell weapons and explosives to these so-called radical groups that you were joining?
Yes.
All right. Where did you operate?
I was given a cover name, Ed Riggs. With that, I was also given a birth certificate. stating that both my parents were a birth certificate and a record for a Robert Riggs and a Mary Riggs who were deceased.
And you lost all of your true identity?
Yes.
And you operated in California?
California.
What cities in California?
Los Angeles, Oakland, San Francisco, Berkeley, Sacramento, Chino, San Bernardino, Santa Cruz.
Any other states since California?
Yeah. Chicago, Chicago, New York. Made 2 trips to Washington, D.C. Also, I better put in Seattle, Washington. That's very important, too.
How does the FBI coordinate this information? You were one of a number of agents who were doing this. How did they correlate and coordinate this flow of information? How many agents, let's start with that, how many agents were working in a given city, like L.A., in the late 60s?
Jesus, we're talking about a lot of people. Like I said before, in the state, I would say 700 to 1,000. In Los Angeles, which was a large concentrated area of blacks, we're talking about anywhere from 300 to 400 people. San Francisco, probably the same thing. That's a large concentration of black people. Wherever there was a large concentration of blacks, or a large concentration of minorities. Don't let me only say blacks, because we're talking about the Chicanos and we're talking about the Chinese, too.
But among every ethnic group, there were ethnic groups of that group who could be recruited by the FBI to infiltrate their own.
Right.
Just want to get a sense of how much money American taxpayers were laying out for this kind of exercise. What was your salary?
When I started with the Bureau, I was making, $200 a week plus expenses. When I left the Bureau, I was making close to about $800 a week. And also some expenses, too.
So it might run as high as $1,000 a week?
Yes. It's according to what assignments you were put on at the time.
And statewide, there was 750...
Damn, I mean, that's the 60s, y'all. So this is like, what, five racks a week plus 10 racks a week today?
Agents.
700 to 1,000. It might have been more than 1,000 statewide. People are into a fantasy world when they believe that the Federal Bureau of Investigation finds out what it finds out through the method of scientific investigation. That the agents can just go out and they can plot a course and they can follow a man everywhere and they take notes and such. That's not the name of the game. The name of the game is find someone that is close to that man or can get close to that man or that group or whatever.
Whoever can get close to the group, whoever can infiltrate that, whoever can dissect it, can get ahead. And we deal with the realm of the matrix, with the illusion. When we deal with social media and avatars and a bunch of fake, phony shit, man, we're blessed to get a nucleus, man, of drop. We can get a few good pieces of energy that we know we can, you know what I'm saying, rely on, man, to connect through and with and vibrate with. And that's all we could ever ask for, man, as a unit, as a community. But, man, you better dodge the hijack. You better know that this is the name of the game, and this was the 60s. This dude's getting paid off, man, just to get the drop. We're only talking about the black desk. We're only talking about the black desk, man. That they have this desk set up then for any melanated group or organization talking anything to do with enlightenment or consciousness or anything. So within that, you have a whole setup of thousands of these infiltrators. And when you turn on this shit today and you talking about a so-called conscious community and you're looking at all these motherfuckers and you're like, how much of this is infiltrated? If this is what they did in the 60s to break down the real ones. This is what they did to break apart the real ones. This is what they did to drain the energy and shackle the energy. Let's get a little bit more.
And have him do the legwork.
So in other words, there obviously then would have to be more informants than agents.
Definitely.
What would the ratio be? 10 to 1?
I think every special agent usually has anywhere from 6 to 7 what I would call prime informants or agent provocateurs. And then also you have anywhere from 20 to 25 people per agent also that are not really what you would call the everyday informant or agent provocateur, meaning that that person is not on a steady payroll by the Bureau, but every once in a while they will go to that person for information.
What is your speculation on what recently happened in Miami? Would you suspect that there has been a number of agents or informants that have descended on Miami since that eruption?
Oh, definitely, definitely. And not only from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, too. You'll have people from military intelligence and the CIA, for the simple reason that they want to find out the CIA and the military intelligence people want to find out, is this anything connected with some kind of foreign agency? That's their prime objective. The Bureau wants to find out whether this was a organized type of mass movement that's going on. Are there leaders? Are there central people that started this? They want to find that out. Who was the one that was out there getting the group of people together and said, hey, let's go get this? They want to know that.
Let's go to you, dawg. I mean, look, all this is specific because history repeats itself. We're talking about history as a weapon. So we're just throwing this out there, man, to the family as more of a, something to utilize, man. Utilize the knowledge of the recent past.
How would you tell a member of a community that they might be able to spot an informant? How is that possible? Can you spot one? Or what should one look for? Let's say someone in Liberty City.
Well, it's like this. Informants come in all sizes, colors, and attitudes. There is no definite way, unless you can get hold of this telephone bill and you can connect the number with...
So there's no color, every attitude. Some might come, just straight up trying to hijack you. Some might come trying to be extra fucking cool. Some might come with this and some might come with this. All different images, all different packages. There is no way. You have to go off of energy, frequency, and vibration. All the Creator left us as a community of tribes, waking us up across the plane, forming an energy grid. No matter if you're in the UK, you're in Australia, we are connected through our earth, through our crystal earth, man. We're going to get back on these crystals through this energy. All we can do is go off of energy, frequency, and vibration. And if it's not wavy, it's not wavy. And if we get it fucked up, we get it fucked up. But we're doing our best to go off of energy, frequency, and vibration of what it feels, what we feel. We're trusting our senses again. And if you're rocking with us and you know that this ain't play, then you come at us in the sense of, man, let me do everything I can to present a transparent, clear picture. You know what I mean? Make it clear, make it concise, make it real, man. Know that we have to dodge a lot of hijack, man, when you know what I'm saying? But, let us be an example, man. Let us be something that, you can gain something from, that you can learn something from. But just know that we're using the examples that have been laid out. We're using the examples that have been made clear. This history is a weapon, and this is an example. The history is a weapon, and it's an example. It's an example through his eyes, through this brother's eyes. And what would this brother say about hijacks? What would this brother say about infiltration? where we are, where are we today? You know what I'm saying? What are we dealing with? Are we dealing with a separate, you know what I'm saying, oppressor, or a separate invader, or a separate hijack? Are we dealing with the same COINTELPRO, the same hijacks coming in all colors? So no, we ain't gotta be paranoid about shit, but we damn sure better be wise and hip to energy, frequency, and vibration. We have to tune through our Creator and the frequency of our Creator only. The crystal and the energy that we feel when we know when our brother or our sister are coming in peace. And we're also aware that the hijack is real, and this is Hijack 101.
The Bureau office, and you got it. But
The fact that they're not working steady and yet are able to eat and get around doesn't mean anything.
Not so much in the black communities. That's one of the hard things, because there's such thing as hustling. And some people are known as good hustlers. So people don't tend to trip off of them. Hey, Blood, I don't know how Blood did it. Blood probably did. He robbed somebody, or hey man, he's selling some weed, or whatever,
Damn.
Would it necessarily have to be a new face in the community?
No. Fact is, they tend to shy away from that. What they try to do is get someone that's already situated. It's much easier. Much easier. If they have what they call a prime informant, one that has been trained, that knows how to get into the group. Say he's with another group, and he's made a name for himself. Okay, and then there is a group that the Bureau is interested in. Well, what they would like for him to do then is use his rep from the other group to deal with it.
What do you base your conjecture or your statement that FBI operations and surveillance is more extensive today than it ever was? Why would there be? There doesn't seem to be the kind of organizations that existed in the 60s. Why would there be an even greater surveillance on the part of their government?
Well, you have to look at it from the standpoint that the Bureau looks at it. And to them, organization or no organization, as long as there's one or two people or a handful of people that still think in the mold of some of the groups in the 60s, then they will be watching them. You can believe.
Man. Even a handful of people, they don't give a shit, because they're only concerned about their so-called safety. If these indigenous people wake up, you best believe your ass that they are watching your ass.
There's a rep from the other group to deal with it.
What do you base your conjecture or your statement that FBI operations and surveillance is more extensive today than it ever was? Why would there be? There doesn't seem to be the kind of organizations that existed in the 60s. Why would there be an even greater surveillance on the part of their government?
Well, you have to look at it from the standpoint that the Bureau looks at it. And to them, organization or no organization, as long as there's one or two people or a handful of people that still think in the mold of some of the groups in the 60s, then they will be watching them. You can believe it.
Then we moved into the area of budget, how the Bureau operates and manages its money.
The FBI has holdings in different companies. They have storefronts, businesses.
Wait a minute now. Why would they have holdings in companies, stock holdings in companies?
It's extra money.
Oh, you mean they get such a big budget and they may not use it in a particular year, so they invest in the stock market?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. The Bureau could, if federal funding was cut off to the Bureau right now, it could still go at full budget, I guess, for the next, 5, maybe 6 years.
Is it for this reason that the FBI has been able to stand up against many other government agencies?
You have to understand the person that started the Bureau and his background, J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar made an agency that was answerable to nobody but J. Edgar. There hasn't been a president that would dare call the FBI out on the carpet. Why?
Why?
Number one, just like they do background or surveillance on us, I suspect they do it to quite a few people up there in the Capitol. Senators, presidents, vice presidents. Everybody's got a skeleton in his closet.
And on top of that, he's rendered the FBI financially independent.
Yes. The allotments for their budget has grown bigger and bigger with each year. While I was in the Bureau for 7 years, the budget grew bigger and bigger. It's a thing that the monies not spent are always sent back to the government. Okay, but if you notice, the Bureau never sends any money back. Never. It uses its total budget, which is almost unheard of, except for the CIA, and they do the same thing. I guess being super patriots, they always have to figure that someday maybe the government might become corrupt with communists and leftists and black and communists and minorities and whatever, and that the FBI would have to function on its own, bravely by itself. So J. Edgar Hoover had the foresight to make sure that the FBI would have a little nest egg around so it could conquer these subversives,
And work west. What groups did you infiltrate in New York?
In New York, it was the Black Panther Party, Queens section.
How far into the organization did you get, and how'd you do it?
What I did was I was a member of the party already in the California area. All I did was travel up and say I was checking out the party.
So basically, he walked up and said, "Hey, man, I'm from Cali. I've been surfing the wave with you." Whatever they use, right? Whatever they were flowing with. "Oh, man, you've been surfing the wave in Cali? Well, come on." Now, they didn't check him out. They didn't know who this person was. He was straight up, straight up, coming for the cheese and with the cheese, straight up sniffing the cheese. That's all he's in it for is the money, remember? That's all it is, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I Drop Nation, you know what I'm saying? I bought a drop shirt. I'm using this as a relative way because it's not just about us. It's about anyone who formulates and says, you know what? You know what I'm saying? We need to put thought together to, free our people. We need to be invested in the freedom of our people, not just, allowing them to be neutered, you know what I mean? But our people need to be indigenous again. Our people need to be self-sustained. We need to be on our own land. When you talk like that, then you sound like them. Then, of course, but when you are rocking on the frequency of the Creator, there is no other way to talk but freedom for the seed of the people, of the righteous, of those that are still here, putting energy towards righteousness, putting energy towards not killing and stealing. Makes you enemy number one because you don't want to kill and steal. You don't want to bear false witness. You don't want to covet your neighbor, you know what I'm saying? His property, his things. You want to live in peace, but your peace is not their peace. So he says, J. Edgar Hoover had the foresight to make a nest egg for what? For the last barrage, to go vigilante. Look, these people have the foresight to know that this land that they conquered will wake up again. So they have nest eggs set up, right? They all have their getaway. They've been using you the whole time. They've been giving you a little bit of money. Now he said he infiltrated New York City Black Panthers because he was already surfing the wave. You see what I'm saying? You see how easy that was?
In the Queens area. What happened was, though, I only stayed with that assignment for, 2.5 days. We found out then that it was infiltrated heavily by the New York Police Department.
And there was no need for your service.
There was no need for me.
They were already hijacked. He said, damn, All y'all is already hijacking the same people that I'm hijacking? Well, let's pull out. Clearly, y'all got it. So the Black Panther Party in New York City was hijacked so deeply and thoroughly by the NYPD that the FBI pulled out. Now this is the FBI informant already coming from the infiltrated Black Panther Party in Cali. Anytime you put your thoughts together, they want to infiltrate it because they need to know your every thought, your every move. And you think we crazy.
My services.
Let's go back to the 60s. In the first interview, you touched on the fact that you were involved in some way in the robbery of arms from the armory, weapons from the armory.
Yes.
Give us the details and what just went down.
What happened was that the Black Liberation Army, was in need of weapons. This was relayed to my supervising agent.
By you?
By me. Okay. He said, well, why don't you go back to them and tell them that you have a plan to get some weapons?
What year was this incident?
Jesus, I don't really remember.
Okay.
All right. I don't really remember. It was early 70s, I know that. What happened was, well, I didn't live that far from the Compton Armory.
Belly flop ahead a
right
little
up
bit.
the street. You know who has what and what they intend to do with it. Then also you can also have someone or something where you can exert a little pressure to make sure that they do such and such a thing. They don't deviate. And the Bureau was very into controlled situations.
So in other words, when they got these weapons, they could then be goaded or lured into getting into some activity that would make them vulnerable.
Right.
In other words, set up.
Right.
At this juncture, Perry began talking about a man called Geronimo Pratt, who Perry says is serving time for a crime he couldn't have committed.
Gonna allow a person like Elmer Pratt to sit up 9 years in jail for nothing. The man did nothing except that he was a leader in the Black Panther Party, and they wanted him out of the way.
They?
The Bureau.
So, what happened?
Well, there was a murder, right? The murder happened in Los Angeles. Elmer Pratt was in Oakland, okay? Elmer Pratt was under 24-hour surveillance, both physical and SE, electronic, okay? The Bureau, at any time after LAPD picked up Elmer Pratt, could have went down there and said, hey, look, you made a mistake. The guy was in Oakland. Okay? They didn't. They sit back and let it happen because they wanted the man out of the way. It's sick. Here's a man that got a Bronze Star and a Silver Star. Pratt. Right. Elmer Geronimo Pratt. So when he got out of the service, he joined the Black Panther Party because it was a cause that he thought was just and he thought was right. Possibly, and I'm not saying, don't let me paint him a saint, the man possibly did some things, but he did not commit a murder. You know? And let me tell you something about Elmer Pratt. And this is from personal observation. The man was honest, the man was upright, and his word was his bond.
Wow.
You know? And he wouldn't go around doing a jive-ass robbery on a damn tennis court and kill someone. That's just not Elmer Pratt.
Well, who is Elmer Pratt? And if this hijack is getting this excited to come to the defense of him, he must be pretty damn special. He must be someone that even, just affected him on such a level that must have went to his core. Like, he was in the hijacks, but he saw this honest man, and he must have really had an effect on this guy. Like, damn, some of these guys is easy to do in, but it's kind of hard to support, when you're doing it to someone like, George Jackson. We're going to get some more of that. Now, like I said, former Black Panther leader Geronimo Ji-Jaga Pratt wrongfully imprisoned for 27 years. Now, he said he was in prison for nothing, and he had the surveillance. He was doing the surveillance. We look at the life of the former Black Panther Geronimo Ji-Jaga Pratt, who died in Tanzania. Remember what George Jackson said about, man, let me get lost in Tanzania. Well, he still died in Tanzania in 1972. Pratt was wrongfully convicted of the murder of Carolyn Olsen, for which he spent 27 years in prison. So this dude talking about 9 years, that was, before the completion of it. He ended up being in prison for 27 years for something he didn't do. Even the damn informant telling you that. 8 of those in solitary confinement. So again, we got the solitary thing, just like George Jackson. He was released in 1997 after a judge vacated his conviction. It was vacated. Not just overturned, but, man, vacated. Because they knew it was bogus. And 27 years of his life gone. The trial to win his freedom revealed that the Los Angeles Black Panther leader was a target of the FBI's counterintelligence program, or COINTELPRO. We play an excerpt of a Democracy Now! Interview with Pratt and one of his attorneys, Johnny Cochran, in 2000. We also speak on his friend and former attorney, Stuart Hanlon, and with Ed Boyer. So, they get into this interview. I kind of wanted to get down a little bit. So let's go to the transcripts. The former Black Panther leader, Geronimo Ji-Jaga Pratt, died Thursday at the age of 63 in a village in the East African country, Tanzania. He died at 63 in 1972. Pratt was wrongfully convicted of a murder. All right, so let's get to this job. All right, so this is from Geronimo, our brother Pratt. He said, well, I grew up in segregation and we had to deal with the terror from the Klan violence and, other forms of ignorance from those people. But growing up in that kind of environment instilled in me a pride or a sense of nationalism that we can govern ourselves and we can protect ourselves. And we didn't need to be with anyone who didn't want to be with us. So out of that, I was part of a group that was selected by the elders to get military training. Sounds like they had an organization, right? To come back to the community to, to help protect it, relieve the old soldiers. It just so happened that when I was selected, Vietnam was happening, and I ended up in Vietnam and survived that 2 tours and 2.5. And when I came back, it was shortly after Martin Luther King was assassinated. So the Black nation was more or less at one now with the just being fed up. And everyone was saying, look, we have to do something. So this is where he comes in, man. Like, damn, we need guidance, man. What do? We need a wave to surf. So us young militant types were employed quite extensively throughout the nation. And so this is how I ended up in these cities contributing what little I could contribute. And Amy Goodman says, and you got involved then with the Black Panther Party? Well, in various organizations, including the Black Panther Party. So how did you end up in a courtroom being tried for murder of Carolyn Olsen? She was killed playing on a Santa Monica tennis court with her husband in 1968. You were caught and charged when? Well, I was arrested 2 years after that in 1970 in Dallas, Texas, where I was instrumental in helping to organize the first Black Panther chapter there in Dallas, Texas, and other parts of the South. I was charged because of a conspiracy by the government that was led by Hoover. What we call the Hoover-Nixon regime, which was an illegal conspiracy directed against the entire movement. Then she starts talking to Johnny Cochran, you know what I mean? So, I'm going to leave all this for you, man, because it's very important to, dig on, just to drop, man. I mean, to fully comprehend that, apples don't fall far from the tree, right? The energy continues, and it might be guided in this way, you know what I'm saying? Who are we to, tell someone, that what they're doing is not part of the grand design, man. But, as we get it now, as we see it now, we can see it from the very similar eyes of those that are also fed up, with being, witnessing our family gunned down in the street and all that, man. So, you know, this is Geronimo Pratt, man. You know what I'm saying? Rest in power. Elmer Pratt, the prominent Black Panther known by his Nam Gere, Geronimo Ji-Jaga, died at 63 in Tanzania. Man, so, you know, I just wanted to drop some of this, man, and give you some more background on it, because, you know, we got to touch on these things, you know what I'm saying? So we know, you know, that we're following a line, you know what I'm saying? We're in the wave of something much greater than us. And you have to learn from all these things. And, you know what I'm saying? It's not about, you know, spreading the frequency of, I'm going to destroy every this I see or that I see. I mean, as we see the hijack is real, as we know the hijack is real, and it comes looking like you, it comes talking like you, it comes surfing the wave, and you have to have a frequency connected to the Creator to do your best to establish and know energy, frequency, and vibration, real from fake. You know what I mean? You got to be able to have that separation, and, you know, the hijack is real.
He was set up. He was railroaded from the get. I'm surprised they didn't try to kill him in prison. And I'll be surprised if they don't attempt to do it now. Because now people are starting to make waves. Finally, people are starting to realize. After the man's been in there 9 years, and oh, by the way, four years of that was in solitary confinement.
Was the Compton Armory the only instance where you supplied arms to liberation or black groups?
No. I supplied handguns, a few other things, quite a few people. The Community Freedom School, I gave them the ID, the money, and told them the store to go to purchase weapons, and what weapons to purchase.
Have you witnessed murder?
One. Fred Bennett.
Were there ties to the Bureau involved in this murder?
Well, let me put it to you like this.
Fred Bennett?
Fred Bennett was a sort of low-ranking Panther Party member in Oakland. He was with the national headquarters. I found out later on that there was a great possibility, or that he might have been really a informant, but it was very low caliber.
Well, what happened? What did you see?
Well, I went up in a Jeep in the Santa Cruz Mountains with Jimmy Carr, Fred Bennett, and myself, and some white guy. Also, I would find out later on that the white guy was working for the Bureau also. Mosier, I think his name was.
What happened?
Anyway, we get up there to the mountain, and Bennett says, we got an informant here.
In the car?
In the car. And when he said that, the first thing that clicked through my head was, excuse the expression, Jimmy Carr was not one to be trifling with. The brother had been in and out of prison all his life. For him to cut somebody's throat or to possibly physically beat them to death would have been no problem. He was a big, big brother. The only thing that I could think of, well, the man's hands was on the steering wheel. Let me try to take his head off, or he takes mine off. I was armed also. Then,
so what did you do?
I jumped, and I said, hey, what you talking about, man? And that's when he pulled his .357, and he said,
Carr?
Yeah. He said, I'm talking about Freddie. And what I thought was going to happen, now when he stopped it, he took him out, he chastised him, right, slapped him around a lot. And then he took him up the hill. What I thought he was going to do was, like beat the guy up severely, break a leg, arm, whatever, mess his head up a little taste, and then leave him out there. The next thing I know, me and Mosier, the white guy, we're standing by the Jeep, and we hear 3 shots go off. And then car comes down the hill, and he says, hey, you guys got to help me get rid of the body. And I'm thinking, oh, he killed him. That's, you know, but the thing was also, I was saying, play it like it is, you know, don't act like you're going to panic or anything, you know. So we went back up the hill. The white boy was greatly agitated. I mean, he's scared. I mean, excuse the expression. We went up there. He had almost actually decapitated the man. Have you ever seen a 357? Have you seen what he could do?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, his head was all, you know, like off. And we got some brush, some wood, and got some gasoline for the Jeep, and car poured it over the body and threw a match, and he burned the body up. And when I got back, I called up my supervising agent immediately and told him exactly what happened. And do you know they did not do a damn thing? Nothing.
George Jackson was a member of the controversial Black Panther Party who was killed while he was in prison. Reports are that Jackson was trying to escape from prison when he was gunned down in the prison yard.
Okay, we're talking about George Jackson now. You know what I mean? This is the part I wanted to get to before we make a dismount. We're talking about George Jackson. History is a weapon, the soul of that brother. Talking about my man, your man. All right, so we're just remembering our family, man. Remembering these steps. We're getting the energy from it, the drop from it, so that, you know what I'm saying, we're not, you know, in foolish predicaments. As we know, anything that we put our minds to, anything that we say, you know what, man, we're going to dodge a hijack, we're going to drop some books, you know what I mean, tribe up, you know, whatever we call it, to them is a big fucking deal. To them, it goes on the black desk. To them, it's, oh no, you know, this, that. No matter how small you think this is or that is, to them, it's always huge, because it's all it takes is a spark for them to lose their grip or their grasp on this illusion. So they pay attention to the sparks, man. So let's get some drop on George Jackson. They said he was gunned down. They said he was gunned down. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to get the drop, you know, from this perspective right here.
Perry had some information about that. As I recall, there was a good deal of public uproar about him being in the slams, and the chances were pretty good that he was going to get out because of this public pressure. If that's so, why would he be involved in such a sham attempt to break out of prison?
Okay, let me put it to you like this. I think that, okay, you have to understand the psychology of prison per se itself. Every inmate fantasizes about breaking out. Let me put it to you like that. After you've been there a year or so, you're going to be thinking about, how can I get out of this place? The thing was, George Jackson thought that, and he probably thought correctly, that San Quentin officials under no circumstances were going to let that man walk away from that prison alive. Appeal or no appeal, probation or no probation. There are so many ways you can set a person up in prison. It's not funny, you know. I mean, they want you, they'll get you.
So not only because he hated the prison, but because his life was in jeopardy there.
Oh yeah, more so than I think more so that his life was in jeopardy. I was called by a group of so-called radical left in California to witness some fireworks up in Santa Cruz mountain area. When I talk about fireworks, I'm talking about explosives.
Not 4th of July.
Yeah.
What happened when you went to witness this testing of fireworks?
I took a quarter pack unit with me, a kite. I videotaped the sequence of how they used the explosives, who was there, you know.
What kind of explosives were they actually?
They were, let me see, plastic explosives, and it was a solution somewhat like nitroglycerin or nitroglycerin. Very high explosive.
Okay, so what happened after that?
Okay, I found out through Carr and two of the other people there that this was supplying this to them. I went back with the videotape to the Bureau, and I was later to find out that also worked for the Bureau.
Now, what was the real purpose that this group was testing these fireworks? Did they tell you at the time?
For a possible escape of George Jackson.
Okay, so what happened?
What happened was that James Carr, who was better known as Jimmy Carr, who was like a second lieutenant to George Jackson, also was one of his former cellmates, was setting up a escape plan.
Right.
Okay. Now, the thing that is very confusing at this point to me is that through the information that I have, and from the times that I spoke to Jimmy, they were setting up the works, but they hadn't put anything in motion. In other words, they had been slipping certain items into Mr. Jackson at present through different means. But the time wasn't right at the time that George Jackson supposedly made the attempt.
But at any rate, our plan then was for someone to slip this stuff into prison and get it to either Jimmy Carr or George Jackson to effect a breakout.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Jimmy Carr was on the outside at that time.
I'm sorry. Okay.
But it was slipped into George.
Okay.
It was slipped in.
Okay.
Because the same valves turned up after the so-called prison breakout. If you remember, the day of the George Jackson assassination, and that's what the hell it was, Vanetta Anderson supposedly went to visit George Jackson. I am saying Vanetta Anderson did not visit George Jackson. I am saying guys as a black woman who went to visit George Jackson. And I am saying also that Stephen Bingham, the attorney, was used by the way of handing the tape recorder to Stephen Bingham, to Bingham, to take in, because there was no gun in that tape recorder. That gun was already inside there with George Jackson.
But apparently then, not only had the nitro and stuff been slipped to Jackson, but also there was a plan. And what was that plan?
Well, the plan that we knew about, or let me say, the plan that I knew about personally was the plan where they were supposed to blow the east wall of the prison. Jackson, in turn, was supposed to have taken a chain, some long metal object, thrown it around the wires and grounded it. That's cutting out the power to the prison. And then escape off in the darkness with jeeps, with armed people that Carr knew.
But what actually did happen?
What actually did happen, okay, now this is only a hypothesis on my part.
Yeah.
But what I think, since the present authorities and the Bureau were well aware of what Jackson was planning to do, that they forced his hand. Also, I believe that one of the guards had the 9mm pistol. There is no way in hell that George Jackson could have got that 9mm pistol smuggled in, because that 9mm pistol was confiscated over a year ago from Landon Williams during a raid. Oakland Police Department had it in their possession.
Wow.
It went from the Oakland Police Department to the Bureau, and from the Bureau it disappeared up until the time Jackson supposedly had that snuck in where, he did it in a wig or whatever they said he did, whatever lie they came up with.
So you're saying then that George Jackson was given these vials that were actually duds, and then he ran out thinking that it was nitro, threw it against the wall, ping, they didn't go off, and he was blown away.
Right. And the thing that backs that to the next is that the brother that went out with him also had 2 of the tubes. But the thing was, the prison authorities put them in a basket, and they took the tubes out into the center of the yard, and supposedly they stood back from a long distance and shot their weapons at it, breaking the tubes and the contents. You know, the contents all spilled out, and so there was no way to examine those. They did find 1 tube, and that was in George's cell. But no one's ever been able to get their hands on it. Due to some legal process brought down by the Attorney General's office in California.
What do you have to say about the church committee hearings? Do you feel that the church committee...
You know what I mean? They're going to get into the church committee, man. Again, love to John Garner, man. We're just passing the information. Again, we got some of that before, but let's make our dismount, man. We're back to this George Jackson, man. I mean, you know what I'm saying? We're talking about this bro, man, spending the next 10 years from a $70 gas station incident. Now he's in chains. Now he's the Soledad brother in San Quentin. Yeah, we got those, man. Let's get this last one, man. Yeah, okay. So I don't think we can afford to be nice much longer. The very last of our protection is eroding from under us. There will be no means of detecting when that last right is gone. You'll only know when they start shooting you. And this is as real as it gets. This is the realest spill you can, you know what I'm saying, you can gather, is that you only gonna know when they start shooting you, man. The process must be checked somewhere between now and then. And we'll be fighting from a position of weakness with our backs against the wall. I think we have still the advantage now. We of the black colony, as we know, the copper color, the indigenous colony, know about that kind of action, fighting off of the wall. You indigenous people been fighting with your backs against the wall ever since you were invaded by the Papal bull, doomed Diversas, 1452. Subjugate these Negroes and put them in chains perpetually. Put them in chains perpetually. And it never stopped the perpetual chains of the copper color race found here. Who's looking up for justice, right? With our backs against the wall, right? Fighting on your own land, right? It's not the best way to get down. It's getting tighter here. They're taking our visits. It looks as if they're stopping our court appearances. They also made a mistake concerning our money draw this month. This means we'll be without the little things even. You may never read this letter either. Our mail is being held back, returned, thrown away somewhere. Nice people, aren't they? They richly deserve anything we can do to them. This man who just passed my cell counting, he'll never listen to reason. His mind isn't constructed that way. While we reason with him in ideals and ideas, he isn't listening. He is thinking about which rule he'll quote to dismiss us. When he walks away, you'll see the little code book protruding from his ass pocket. That's where he carries his mind, in his ass pocket. When we attack the problem with intellectualism, we give away the advantage we have in numbers. I'm with Bobby. Oh, you don't know Bobby? We are going to have to kick him where he keeps his brain, in the region of his ass. Power! Wow. Love to the fan band, man. Rest in power. We're talking about history as a weapon. We're talking about the Soledad brother. We're talking about the prison letters of George Jackson. You got the drop, pull it up. Man, we're talking about the COINTELPRO, and look at the face of the hijack. that was used to sign the treaties against you. For what? Money. 40 years ago, they shot him down. If you don't know about George Jackson, the Soledad brother, then you have had a very incomplete education on the Black Liberation Movement, assassinated by guards in San Quentin's prison yard, 1971. Jackson is both an icon and theorist of the era. His younger brother, Jonathan, was martyred a year earlier seeking George's escape. They killed his brother, an incident in which educator and activist Angela Davis became enmeshed. CLR James described the letters in Jackson's book, Soledad Brother, as the most remarkable political documents that have appeared inside or outside the United States since the death of Vladimir Lenin. We're talking about George Jackson 40 years ago. They shot him down. And like the brother just said, or shit, he ain't no brother of mine. Even the hijack told you that Geronimo Pratt was innocent. Even the hijack told you that they assassinated George Jackson on purpose. And he knew he wasn't getting out. And now this brother did 27 years for nothing and dies in Tanzania. We meditate. We vibrate. We know the hijack is real. We know our creator, puts us in contact and frequency with each other through energy, frequency, vibration. We do our best to be in tune so that we can not miss the call, not miss a single sound. You know what I'm saying? Not miss one connection, you know what I mean? But sometimes it takes longer, and we all got to be patient as we dodge the hijacks, Geronimo, Gerard Pratt, the name he rejected later as that of a quote-unquote dirty dog slave master when he was 20, was born in Louisiana, September 13, 1947, the youngest of 7 children. His parents ran a scrap metal business. Pratt, a high school quarterback, joined the Army after graduation, serving 2 years of duty in Vietnam. He earned 2 Purple Hearts and was promoted to sergeant, but left the Army with the honorable discharge, shattered by the assassination of Martin Luther King in 1968. Who told you what? That the native land of the so-called Negro, that the Negro is now in exile on his own land. Stay up, suit up, choose up, and remember your ancestors. Remember those that, have paved the way, have left the energy for you to see, We are vibrating. Remember and rest in power. Our brother, George L. Jackson, Elmer Geronimo Pratt. And remember, always dodge the hijacks, man. Energy, frequency, vibration, you get it right away. Stay up, suit up, choose up.